Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Magpie Circle. A circle of two halves tonight, joined by Leigh Curtis, the Nottingham Post Notts County correspondent for the first half, and then we will be joined by Nathan Salt from the RobRyanRed Put my teeth back in, RobRyanRed Podcast, to preview the FA Trophy quarter-final with Wrexham on Friday evening. Welcome, Leigh.
Good evening.
Yeah, good to have you back. I wasn't really sure how to play tonight's show and what to say, and so I haven't really done any opening remarks tonight because, and I'll tell you for why. 6 goals, entertaining game, but in a way, I've rarely gone home feeling quite as deflated with that. You know, for me, that should have been a nailed on 3 points, but a lot of the faults, the failings and the problems that the club has struggled with for a large proportion of this season kind of manifested themselves. We couldn't hold on for a lead. It's 1 point. And what I found interesting was when I was walking out of the ground, I was with my son, Chloe, her granddad, and a relative of them as well. And every fan I spoke to was quite muted. And I think you get a good barometer and a good feeling from away fans. They are the most committed of fans. They spend a lot of money home and away. They tend to be the most pragmatic. And I've got to say, all the ones I spoke to, they're concerned, which on the face of it, you think, well, hang on a minute, 3-3 at Solihull. They're concerned that rather than kicking on, we're kind of floundering a bit. You know, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And, you know, I see so many numpties on social media coming out with so many excuses for Notts. Oh, that's a fantastic point for Notts at Solihull. You know, we had so many players out. They conveniently gloss over Chesterfield had twice as many players out and battered us. You know, and I think this double standards and use of excuses is starting really to irritate me a bit. You know, oh, well, we've improved this season in line with the other teams. They're much better now. We could never compete with Wrexham or Stockport. Really? Really? How did Barrow get promoted? How did Sutton United get promoted? Because they sure as hell couldn't compete with us when it came to wages, budgets and all the rest of it. 9 million quid Alexander and Christoph have spent buying this club, financing this club and running this club in under 3 seasons. I'm telling you right now, whatever some of the apologists might think, we spent more money than Wrexham. We spent more money than Chesterfield over the last 3 years, more money than Stockport. I promise you. This club has players, coaching staff, executives on 6-figure salaries. No reason why they shouldn't be, but don't somehow pretend and throw round the begging bowl that this club is subservient to Wrexham, Stockport and the others. We're not. There's enough with this group of players to be doing better than they are. We are below par. Now, I still think with a number of games left, we can do something this season. But at the minute, I am very concerned as a fan that we're going backwards rather than forwards. Right, I've got it off my chest. Okay, Leigh Brearley, hi all, great game last night, but sadly, and then he's disappeared. Chris Gosling, I saw a lot of qualities in our game last night that had been missing in previous weeks. Got to be honest, Chris, didn't see him, mate. 3 goals conceded, couldn't hold on to a lead twice. You tell me. I'm in an argumentative mood tonight. Gary Wardle, it's not a bad result in itself, but due to recent games against Grimsby, Halifax and Chesterfield, it looks particularly bad. Shane Walker, evening all, still believing we can do it. David Clarkson, good evening. Thank you for the great shows you provide. Gary Wardle, all the talk of kicking on and chasing the title leaders down is based on hope, nothing factual. We are not bang for buck. I agree we have the technical ability, but not the application consistently. PJ Defiance, Paul, the season is over. We will fall out of the playoffs. We needed a few players in January, and we did by our strength. And we are very below par. We have no plan B. My frustration, Leigh, I bet you're wishing you hadn't come on now. My frustration is there's a lot more that we can do, but I'm not sure we're efficient enough, functional enough, streetwise enough. Yeah, it's a great game, 6 goals, love it last night. There's no way we shouldn't have won that game. And as a team that harbours realistic hopes of promotion, we should have won that game. Give me your take on it all.
Well, first of all, I thought as many Notts fans probably won't want to hear it, but I thought last night was a terrific advert for the National League, and I think we're probably all in agreement that if that game was shown on TV, everybody would be talking about it for weeks on end because it was such a belting game. It was end to end. I thought Notts, given their injury problems, thought they played pretty well. I thought when Ruben made it 3-2. I always felt that Solihull were a good team. I mean, we know what Neil Ardley's like. We saw what he was capable of when he was here and obviously led Notts to the playoffs. And he's built a very good team at Solihull Moor. Joe Sabara is probably one of the best players in the National League. I really liked Andy Dallas. I thought Notts should have signed him in the summer. I knew they had a look at him, but for whatever reason, didn't make any sort of concrete offer. But I thought those two in particular for Solihull were very, very good. Very lively. But when Ruben went through and made it 3-2, we spoke to Ian last night about would you have liked more control in a game of that type? Because it was like a basketball game. It was you have an attack, we have an attack, and it was both teams going for a win. I think what he said was, and I do have some sympathy for him, is that he spoke about trying to put 5 on at the back, but they brought Jaden Richardson with them. And in the warm-up, Jaden Richardson was still complaining of his hamstring. So when it got to 80 minutes or whatever it was, and we were leading 3-2, he wanted to put 5 at the back. And I think if you remember, Joel Taylor came on and ended up playing on the right-hand side with his left-footed.
Yeah.
And that was because they literally had no options. They turned round to Jaden and asked him whether he could give him 10 minutes, but his hamstring was just too tight. And I guess if you risk it and he ends up missing the next month, that's going to be an even bigger blow. So I think there were obviously some mitigating circumstances last night as to why Notts couldn't batten down the hatches. And I have to say, I understand why the mood is perhaps what it was, because it was a thrilling game. And if the boot had been on the other foot and Ruben Rodriguez had scored from 25 yards and made it 3-3 right at the end, I think a lot of fans would have probably gone, that's a great point. We've come back, we've made it. So I understand, because you've given away the lead, basically. I think had the boot been on the other foot and we'd scored and made it 3-3, we'd all be saying, great fighting spirit, numerous injury problems. So I understand why the fans are disappointed, but I think the nature of the goal as well. I mean, it was an unstoppable strike. I mean, there was nothing the keeper could do. It was a terrific effort. But listen, they're still in a fantastic position. I know people feel like they're having a bit of a wobble, but I still think this team, and looking at particularly the running on the final few weeks, I've got no concerns about them making the playoffs. I think a lot of the teams are still got
statement, Leigh, that one. I think we'll make them, but I wouldn't say I don't have any concerns about it.
Well, I'm sure I'll get reminded about it if we don't. But I'm confident that Notts will finish in the playoffs. The question that we're all asking is whether they can actually snatch second or third, because I think that in itself would be such a huge boost to them, because we all know how good they are at Meadow Lane, and their home form proves it. I think they've only lost twice at home in the league this year, which was Woking and Grimsby. So their home record is exceptional. I think the one thing that does trouble me a little bit is the away form. They took the lead at Chesterfield. They couldn't hold out there, conceded 3 goals, took the lead last night against Chesterfield on 2 occasions. Solihull on 2 occasions, couldn't hold out, ended up scrapping for a point. I think it's that away form that perhaps does need addressing a little bit. And as I wrote at the weekend, I think this team is brilliant to watch. When it's out full flow, it is undoubtedly, I haven't seen a better team in the league in terms of how it plays, how it's coached, how the players know their roles and responsibilities, the intensity and the quality and the flair that they show is undoubtedly the best in the league when they are absolutely bang at it. I think the biggest problem for me, though, is I say this, and yet I still think there's something missing. And I can't quite put my finger on what it is. Because, as you say, the teams who are chasing promotion go to Solihull when they're leading 3-2 and take all 3 points. A team chasing promotion probably sees off Yeovil at home. Do you know what I mean? So I do think there is something missing, but I can't quite put my fingers, because people say, well, we should get a goal scorer, but scored another 3 goals last night. I think the goals for column is probably among the best, if not the best, in the National League after last night. And the goals against column now, I think probably after last night, after conceding 3, there were a few goals in it, was actually pretty comparable to the rest of the teams. There were only 3 or 5 goals in it. So I'm not sure. I mean, I asked this question at the weekend, and a few fans said, well, we need another proven goal scorer. We need a big, horrible central midfield player. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that something is missing from the team, and yet there's so much to admire about them. It's really perplexing, because I've loved watching Notts this season. I think they've been great to watch. Some brilliant performances, great goals to boot, great team goals, great individual goals. You look at the likes of Roberts, Rodriguez and Wootton. I think they're all in double figures now. Eli Sam's hitting great form. Yet we're saying all this, but we're still not picking up results away from home. So I think there is a question there to be answered as to how we go about picking up points away from home. But in saying that, I still think, and I'm still supremely confident, that Notts have certainly got enough about them to finish in the playoffs. Whether that's second or third, I'm not quite so sure. But I think they will certainly do it. But yeah, we seem to be going. The injuries haven't helped either. I mean, Kyle Cameron's a big blow, because I mean, let's have it right. I mean, he embodies and typifies everything that Birchnell wants from his team. Centre halves who are good on the ball and play out from the back. Richard Brinley, another one who's obviously been moved in from right back to centre half. He's done very, very well. Losing Matty Palmer last night. I mean, we'd all agree that Matt Palmer is, in my opinion, probably the best player of the season in terms of his consistency, his quality that he shows every week. And that was the first game he missed last night. So it's just a question now, I think, of getting those players back. I mean, Stockport away in the coming week or so, I mean, it's an absolutely massive game. But I think the title has gone now anyway, so I don't think, whatever happens there is going to decide Notts' fate in terms of the playoffs. But it would be nice to go there and try and pick up a result.
Plenty of comments coming in. Ian Birchnell, evening all. I really enjoyed the game last night. 2 evenly matched teams playing well. Nick F, unbelievably tight up there. Surely this is the season it happens. Stephen Knighton, clean sheets needed to get results. Leigh Braley, my internet went. We cannot concede like we are and have done most of this season, and silly goals to boot. Gary Wardle, last night we fell behind and got back into it, then led twice, but could still not close it out. That is nothing but unacceptable. Ian Birchnell, decent point last night, and if we had beat Yeovil, we will be saying it was a decent point. Chris Gosling, agree, Ian. Hey, Ian, Chris, hey, you're one of two of my most loyal flock. We didn't beat Yeovil, okay? Ifs, buts, maybes, we didn't. And I'll come on to you in a minute in current form on the last 10 games, because if you want to look at that and get depressed, you will do when you hear those stats. Gary Wardle, it was bound to be a good game there. Could be no excuse for Notts not turning up last night. Kevin Room, very sorry to say this again, but I don't think Ian is the man to take us forward. Chris, you think I've got a downer on you tonight. Shabara should be one of the best for 3,500 a week, one of the top 10 earners in the league. Chris, he's not. He's not on $3,500 a week unless you want to brandish his payslip to me. I'm sorry, but comments like that skew the picture. I'm sure you don't mean to be malicious. I'm sure it's meant with the intention of putting Notts in a good light. Shabara is not on £3,500 a week at Solihull. Please do not make completely fictitious statements. This is not Twitter. This is not Facebook. This is certainly not Notts County Mad. So let's just distance ourselves. That player is not on £3,500 a week at Solihull, nor is anyone else at Solihull. Ian Birchin will agree with Leigh. Real advert for the league. We have no right to win every game, and we have to accept that. Adding some key players missing as well. Andy Walton, we have too many young up-and-coming players. Don't like to agree with Chloe, but an Alan Smith or a seasoned pro is what we lack. Gary Wardle, week on, week out, IB is openly admitting other sides of great individuals and the opposition qualities where we are not brave enough or quick enough. Personally, I think we need Neil Warnock as director of football. That ain't going to happen. Chris Gosling, the only thing I thought was that when Eli is fit, play him up top alongside Woods and leave Ruben on the left, create the kind of chaos Solihull cause by bringing on a 6'9" striker. Nigel Cameron, 5th, 6th or 7th is the best we can expect. We've been consistently inconsistent to realistically achieve anything better. Kane Porter, we're missing that rough, strong Roy Keane type midfielder. I'm sure even Stockport might find room for one of them, even with their current form. Ian Birchin or Kevin, so you'd be sacking for IB. Chopping and changing the manager regularly hasn't done as much good, has it? Nigel Cameron, we're missing clean sheets. Leigh Brearley, Leigh, simply we concede easily. Scoring isn't an issue, the stats tell us. Martin Allen said this the other week. We may struggle for a playoff if we concede like we do. Gary S. Solihull, not a bad result. More worrying is drawing at home to Yeovil. Blah, blah, blah. Paul Smith, Notts have a comparatively easy last 8 or 9 matches. So come April and May, we should be flying and probably banging form come the playoffs, irrespective of whether we finish 2nd or 7th. Yeah, I tell you what, Paul, let's just write off March. Let's just give it up. Let's just say we won't bother turning up. Give everybody else the points and turn up for the last 7 games. It's that kind of defeatism that winds me up, right? Notts County, right? Notts County. Right, so we can't compete with half a dozen teams in the next 6 or 7 matches. Is that what we're saying? Is that really what we're saying? Because if we think that, I don't know what we've spent £9 million on. I really don't. I really don't. Gary Wardle, the brothers have invested too much in IB. I can't see him going anywhere, but the comfortable attitude throughout the club is not what winners are made of. LRR34X, honestly, I'd like to see Sam back in goal. Sam Slocum, Yaros isn't quite the Patterson replacement. Martin Hearson, it'd be boring if we were 10 points clear at the top of the table. No doubt that will be in the playoffs, where, who knows, going to be a fantastic end to a really close season with any 2 teams going up. There's loads more. We're run out of time. I want some thoughts from you, Leigh, while you're on, because I know you're taking a bit of time out of work. Here's some stats for us. Last 10 games, top of the charts, out of a possible 30. That's how many you can get. Last 10 games, Stockport, 28. Think about that for a minute. 28 out of 30 points. And I don't want to hear Stockport have been down these divisions for 10 or 12 years. Stockport have had Dave Challoner since, was it October or November, Leigh?
Oh, now you're asking.
Anyway,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He ain't been there more than 5 months. Okay? So don't give me the one about, oh, it takes years. Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay? Things can be changed around very, very, very quickly. So Stockport, 28 points. Wrexham, second, 22. I think they've won the last 5. Southend, 22. Solihull, 19. Grimsby, 19. This is all from the last 10 games. Any guess how many we've got from the last 10, Leigh?
11.
Oh, no, not quite that bad. 13.
13.
13 points from 10 games as we're starting to get to the business end of the season. That's why I'm a little bit concerned. That's why I'm a little bit concerned. Having seen the starkness of those stats, and clearly you cover the club, so you need to preserve and protect relationships. I get that. But would we not all agree, from a results perspective, we do need to see a significant upturn? And for me, Leigh, for there to be a significant upturn in results, we've got to defend better. And however much we talk about how much we enjoy this, that, and the other going forward, we have the worst defensive record of the top 9 teams chasing promotion. Right? We have to be tighter at the back. Now, do you think we can be tighter at the back playing the way we play and just carrying on? Or do you think somehow or other we might need to compromise something going forward to shore up at the back? Because at the minute, those last 10 games would say to us, we're struggling.
That is a very, very good question. Do Notts need to tighten up? Well, unquestionably, yes. I think, because it's all right. I think the problem is with this team is as good as it is going forwards, when you play that kind of style, I do think sometimes you do leave yourself a little bit susceptible. But if I take the goals in isolation, some of the goals we've conceded have been really poor ones. I mean, last night, the penalty, okay, throw that one. The second one for Dallas, which was, could we have done better there? Stop the cross? Yeah, probably. We've conceded some soft goals. And I think that's been probably a hallmark throughout the course of the season, really. We're not a team known for our defensive resilience, let's put it that way. I think teams always fancy, while Notts go into a game knowing that they're going to create chances, and they invariably do, I think the opposition always think to themselves, we'll get a chance against these. Do you know what I mean? Like the Yeovil goal, for instance, at the weekend, it was
an individual error, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a bad mistake. And it's, bad mistake, but it's a terrible goal to concede. But in saying that, in that Yeovil game, I can't think of another save that Yaros had to make in that entire game for that 90 minutes. He's relatively untroubled for much of that game. So that would suggest to me...
But Leigh, is that the issue, though? The issue is, because with a statistical and data-driven approach by the club, large chunks of people now seem to be obsessing over statistics. And unless you have a master's degree in XG goal factors, there is a view among some sectors of our supporters that you're not entitled to watch a game of football. I don't need to see an XG factor in any single game in my life to be able to form what I believe to be a judgment. Yeah. It's the concession of the goals that the problem, irrespective of whether the opposition only have 2 shots or 20 shots. That's irrelevant, isn't it? I think is the stat 3 clean sheets in the last 16 league games.
Again,
that ain't coincidence.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, they're not going to go out and sign anybody. I asked that question last night whether they were going to bring somebody in, but there seems to be they're quite happy with the squad. I think if Kyle Cameron had been ruled out for a considerable length of time, then I'm pretty sure they probably would have dipped into the market, and they've only got until the end of this month anyway to do any business. But it goes back to the point that I was saying. I'm not quite sure what this team needs, because if we're talking about, I don't think this team is capable of playing a defensive brand of football. I don't think it's...
Okay, here's a question for you, Leigh. Is it capable, with how we are set up, to play promotion-winning football?
Yeah, because I think they have got enough flair players. I mean, if I go back to the Halifax game, for instance, when we drew 1-1, absolutely battered them for 90 minutes. 9 times out of 10, I think obviously Notts come away with all 3 points there. But so I don't think there's anything wrong with the team going forwards. It's proven and has done so throughout as the goals for column suggests. It hasn't got a problem with scoring goals. And you've got 3 players on double figures. It's just, I don't know. It's just this just seems to be a little bit of a soft underbelly. You always think that the other team is is not quite out of the game. Unless Notts are 2 or 3 goals up, like you just feel that there's always going to be a sting in the tail somewhere. You always think that the other team are going to get a chance. And I think certainly teams in this league feel that they're going to get a chance from Notts because, as the goals against column suggests, there's another 3 goals last night. I do think that teams look at Notts and think, I think we will get a chance, but we must stick it away. And to credit to those teams like Halifax and Yeovil, when those chances have come, they've taken them. I suppose it's trying to find that sort of happy balance between defence and attack, but I don't think Notts are in a position, and certainly with the way they've been coached all season, and certainly from the time that Ian's been in charge, that there's going to be a massive sea change in how they approach games. I still think we're going to see either 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, 3-5-2, whatever system that it is still primarily going to play the same way. It's going to try and play through the thirds. It's not going to become this team who sits low in front and puts 10 men behind the ball. It's not going to do that. It's going to be high energy, high octane. I just don't think that we're going to get the change into this defensively cautious Notts County team that perhaps most people think is what it needs, and we'll try and nick goals on the counter attack. I just don't. We're just not going to get that. I just don't think Ian is that type of manager. So I think what we're going to see in the next few weeks, and as we've seen in some of the games, it's going to be seat of the pants stuff at times. I think, like last night was. Last night was a thriller. I think we'll probably get more of those. But these soft goals, I don't know how, with the personnel you've got, how you stop them, because they're not going to bring anybody else in. You've literally got the personnel that you've got: Rawlinson, Lacey, Cameron, Bryn, Leigh as your centre halves. The 2 goals against Chesterfield would come from, I think, second phases from set pieces, and that's been a problem all season. It's not been addressed. So I just, it's. I think we're just going to have to accept it. Unfortunately, I think this is how it's going to be, because I just don't see this big change in ethos, big change in tactics. Just don't see it coming.
If we do not change, for me, or carry on in exactly the same vein, then I just think we're going to concede too many goals. I don't have any degree of confidence at the minute that we will keep a clean sheet. And if you don't keep a clean sheet, there's a lot of pressure. I think you and probably most of the Notts fan base have disagreed for the vast majority of the season. I don't think there's any issue scoring goals with this team. We've got 3 of the, I think, in terms of league goals only, 3 of the top 13 goal scorers in this division are Notts County players.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the problem? Yeah, we all might say, Joe Shabara looks really good. Not good enough to be on $3,500 a week, by the way, Mr. Gosling. But we all say, he looks good. We've got 3 strikers in double figures. Okay, so I don't think that's the problem. But I will get back to the fact that I tell you an interview that keeps coming back, and it's probably the most honest interview I've seen. And clearly, Ian has to keep the players on side. So I totally understand with Ian's interviews how he's got to do a fine dividing line between giving a semi-honest assessment, but not too honest that he's going to upset his players, because he's going to go back to those players the following week. Say, right, I need you to put your head on the line. I need you to do this, Ruben. Yeah. So he's not going to call him out in public. But do you remember after Grimsby, Kyle Cameron's interview? And he spoke and he said, we're probably not streetwise enough, not good enough at defending set pieces, not resilient enough. That's your club captain. And that is probably, over the course of this season so far, your most dominant defender. And that's worrying. It's very honest. I don't think we've addressed that, if I'm honest with you. I if I'm being really, the number of crosses that are put into the box against Notts, yeah, it causes us problems. I'm sorry, it causes us problems.
It'll probably not forgive me by saying this, but I actually do think, and this is going to sound really weird, but I actually do think we miss a Michael Doyle. I do think we miss a Michael. When you talk about being streetwise and just being clever and mastering the dark arts, because when I look at the Notts team, it is a very young team. Really, when you consider, I mean, Kyle Cameron, a greater leader as he is, I think he's only 24, is he? You look through the spine, Carl Wootton, 24, 25, Roberts, 23, 24, Ruben, 23, 24, Ed Francis, 22, 23. I think these players could benefit from somebody like a Michael Doyle, who was brilliant at just mastering the dark arts, stopping counter-attacks, taking a yellow card for the team, getting in people's faces, just winding up the opposition. And, for the 2 seasons that he played in the centre of that midfield, absolutely phenomenal. But when he decided that he was going to take a backseat in terms of playing and he was going to go into the coaching side, we were told that Ed Francis was going to come in and be his direct replacement. But the one thing that Ed Francis doesn't have that Michael Doyle has is the experience. Doesn't have the experience of, like Michael, of being at the top end of the table, like challenging for promotion, being involved in the thick of a promotion race, knowing how to disrupt a game, knowing how to interrupt a team's momentum, knowing when to take a yellow card, knowing when to commit a cheeky foul that just stops the other team. And we have missed him because he was a phenomenal leader, and that's why he was so highly regarded by Notts fans and so highly regarded by the other teams that he played for, Portsmouth, Coventry, etc. So maybe, if we're talking about what this team's lacking, maybe I would say somebody of that ilk, just a solid, experienced midfielder who's a little bit, I don't want to use the word dirty, but clever, smart, streetwise is probably, as you just said, somebody of that ilk who can just settle things down a little bit and get, like last night, get control of the game, get control of the ball, bark those orders out, knowing because he's played those games before, he's seen how they go, he's been involved in basketball games before. So he sees it, spots it on the pitch, and he goes, right, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get everybody behind the ball. We're just going to keep the ball. We're just going to knock it about. We're going to just take the sting out of the opposition. And we missed that against Chesterfield when they were turning the screw in the second half. And we missed it last night in certain times. Maybe if I'm looking, that is maybe something that Notts could look to. So I think whatever happens, if Notts get promoted this season back to the Football League, then we'll all be saying, brilliant. Club's ethos is right, investing in these young players. But I think if they don't go up, this will be the 3rd season that they've had a crack at it. And each time we might not end up falling short, but if we do, it will be the 3rd time. So I think that there's going to have to be some kind of conversation in the summer between everybody at the football club to say, look, right, we've got so far implementing this model. What is going to take us to the next level? What are we missing? Because it's all right finishing in the top 7 3 times in a row and being involved in the playoffs is great, we'll say, but the ultimate objective is to get out of the league. So you want, at the end of the season, I think, come what may, there needs to be a hard conversation with everybody involved at Notts with the coaching recruitment side, sit down and just analyse and look at what they're perhaps missing that's stopping them from being among those title challengers, being involved at the top of the table, being a Stockport. What lessons can we learn? I mean, it's quite easy for Stockport and Wrexham and Chesterfield because money's no object to them, so they can just buy whoever they want. I heard a story last night that Chesterfield had tried to buy Sabara, so that tells you, the kind of finances that are being thrown around. But I just think, come what may, whatever happens this season, are we going to have a sit down and discuss? Because I do think the model has worked well up to a point, But what's stopping us from going the extra level to go to being a Stockport and challenging at the top end of the table and being that team who've taken 28 points out of the last 30? What are we missing? What is lacking? Because certainly going forwards, we're really lovely and attractive and pleasing on the eye. But as you say, it's all about results. So, Stockport, I have no doubt, will have gone to grounds where it's been very, very tricky, very, very difficult, but they've found a way to win. They've found a way to get those 3 points when the backs have been against the wall. And that's something that we have to look at, I think. But it's a fascinating conversation because, since the Reeds brothers have come in, we have invested in some very, very brilliant, high-quality, individual flair players who a lot of clubs are looking at. But in the grand scheme of things, the fans don't really, as much as the fans like to see those players involved in the squad, ultimately their only care is whether they get promoted or not. It's trying to get that balance.
Look, and welcome to Nathan. Welcome, Nathan. We're just wrapping up. I'm in a foul mood tonight, be warned, okay? I'm sure, I don't know whether you've been hearing much of what Leigh and I have been talking and the punters. You must have been through this for a decade, right? It's relatively new to us, and I'm having a rant tonight because I'm not having it, okay? I'm afraid that all that matters. Lee's one of my best pals, right? And he's got and as you're a professional journalist as well, and I know he's got to toe the middle ground, right? And I'm very grateful and respectful the support that the club, Nick Richardson, showed to us with players coming on. But you cannot get away. The only thing that matters is getting results to get out of this league, okay? And for me, there are too many excuses. There are too many people putting their excuses in before we finish the season. 1 minute Solihull are rubbish and Neil Ardley doesn't know what he's doing. Today I'm reading comments that, well, it's actually a really good point because Solihull are in a great form and Neil Ardley's a really good manager and that's excellent. And everyone is concocting narratives to suit whatever their point of view is. And let me be quite clear about this. The best person to get us promoted this season, right, is Ian Birchnell. Okay? So I'm not one of these saying Birchnell out or anything like that. The best chance we have got of going up this season is with Ian Birchnell. So we've all got to rally round him and get on with it. But you cannot mask the fact that at the minute, we ain't doing it. We ain't doing it. And there are too many excuses floating around. And I'm sorry, not good enough. Not good enough. Too many are pursuing individual agendas. We've got Muppets on our social media channels saying that Ian Birchnell's been the best manager for this club for 20 years. Well, I tell you what, Tom, on Twitter, you're probably a Russian spam bot for all I know, but you want to come on this show, shed your cloak of anonymity, come on here on Monday next week, let's have a proper debate. Let's see whether you're a real person or you just get let out your cupboard. Okay? Because these people are starting to wind me up a bit now, okay? I was there last night with other 649 proper fans. And when I talk to fans at the grounds, everyone is very balanced. Everyone has a reasonable conversation. And then the keyboard warriors, out they come, making ridiculous statements, right? As a club, Leigh, we've got to knuckle down, okay? We've got to keep clean sheets. Got to keep clean sheets. For me, scoring goals is not the problem. But how you can go away from home and score 3 goals and not get 3 points, I'm sorry, it's a disgrace.
What I say is, I hope you're right, well, Nathan. You might not well be by the end of I'd say, all I'd like to say, I wish Nathan all the best. It's lovely to see him.
As Martin ONeill always used to say, you've got to get it out your system, Leigh. If you bottle it, right, it's worse, right? You have to get it out. You have to get it out your system. Then you feel better, you know?
Yeah.
Right, are you off now?
Yeah, I am.
You're never coming back.
Yeah, lovely. Well, listen, thank you very much for having me on. And I'll leave you with Nathan and enjoy because Paul's on one.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah.
Yeah. Leigh, take care. Nathan,
Yeah, you too. Take care.
how
Nice
are
to see
you,
you,
pal?
Nathan.
How
Take
are
care.
you? You
Yes.
were shortlisted at the Sports Journalist Association for Young
I was.
Sports Journalist of the Year, weren't you?
I was. I came third. I came third. I'm very chuffed. Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate it.
Well done. Well done. So, now then, your boys are in a bit of form, aren't they, at the minute? How many on the trot?
6 all comps, 6 in a row, 6 wins. It's very
That's another one of my bugbears. We don't count
5 then.
competitions.
Okay,
All
5
that
in the league.
matters
5
is
in the league.
Yeah.
Hey,
'Cause
look,
our lot-
I'm
yeah.
a big lot for the trophy. I'm big on the trophy. I defend it to the hilt. So we'll say 5 in the league, yeah, but 6 wins in a row. Very, I know I've been there where you are tonight. I've been there ranting and raving, and it's emotional because because this league is win or bust. It's do or die. If you don't get out the league, the whole thing is a failure. Every great result goes down the pan. It doesn't matter. The whole thing, you could play the worst football ever. If you go up, it doesn't matter. No one cares. All people care about is do you get up? If Wrexham don't get up this season, they could get to the 95th minute in the playoff final, get to a penalty shootout, playoff final, and keeper may put off a blinding save, top corner penalty save. The whole season's a failure, which when I speak to the players, they say that's a tad unfair. Football's football. But no, it is. The whole seasons are a failure. And so for yourselves, it's not what I would say is it's not over yet. I've seen teams go through bad spells and stumble into the playoffs and still get out of it. I would say that I've seen other teams that just sort of feel like the wheels are coming off and then they find a screwdriver and a spanner and some other tools and they can rescue it. Right now, yeah, you seem to have a problem plugging the bath, as I would say. You can't keep anything in. You can't keep a clean sheet to sort of save your own life, which we've been able to do pretty well. We've detested this back five that we've played for long periods. I've been on here before saying I don't know why we play a back five away at Dover and a back five away at Wealdstone. Why would you do that? I don't understand. We scraped a 1-0 win at Dover where we scored directly from a corner. But look, Parkinson's, it's working for him now. I'm not his biggest fan still. I don't find him in any way engaging. He doesn't come over and clap the fans, and I get pelters for that on Twitter by probably more of these Russian bots that say, I'm demanding too much. I think it's not much to come over and clap the fans at the end of a game. Apparently, that is too much to ask. And yeah, but as somebody pointed out to me the other day when we beat Boreham Wood on Tuesday, someone said you don't need to be best friends with your manager. You don't need to be in love with your manager. We've had those over the years that I've absolutely adored. Parkinson isn't one of them, but if he gets us up again, who cares? It's just about getting out of this league. And right now, yeah, the belief around the fan base is unbelievable. I mean, we drew you in the trophy, and I have to say we were disappointed. That was probably the second worst draw we could have got. Stockport away would have been our worst. And then we thought Notts County away. We've played you twice. Yes, we played better at home. Away from home, yes, we had the 10 men and we're a different team now, but it's still not a great draw. Friday night, it's just got all the hallmarks going on. You're in an average bit of form. And who knows, a big win against Wrexham, even if it is the trophy, is a good catalyst for any side to kind of just like stop the rot, I think.
I'm struggling with the trophy, but we'll come on to the specific Friday night in a minute. But I want to just dissect a little bit with you your fans' relationship with Phil Parkinson and kind of expectations, because clearly for many years your fan base will have eroded with successive years. There's been a huge kind of explosion with what's gone on with the money coming in. Yet from talking to you and talking to one or other people, it would appear, despite his pedigree, because he's a winner, he's a winner. He's won a lot of promotions, Wrexham fans do not appear to have massively taken to him yet. What do you? Is that because of style of play? Is that because of his demeanour? What has been the challenges you faced, kind of chanting his name and all the rest of it?
There's an element of style of play, but I just think his personality doesn't lend himself to be one of these like lovable managers. He's just very. He treats it like a job, which for a lot of people is fine. For me, you're a football manager. There are not much better jobs out there. It should be. I get that there's immense pressure, but you're a football manager working under Ryan Reynolds and Rob Macklin. If you can't crack a smile now and again, I think you're in the wrong job. I honestly, I think you. And I'm biased. I'm a Wrexham fan. For me, it would be the dream job. I get for him, it's just another job like he was at Bradford and like he was at Colchester and elsewhere. But yeah, I think that the fans are starting to turn a little bit now. I mean, it helps when you're winning games, obviously, but they're starting to chant his name at games now, which, it got to February and we couldn't remember a chant of his name around the ground at any game. February. And some people were saying to me, well, we're still warming to him. You can't be warming to a manager February when he took over in the summer. That's ridiculous. I mean, and I think he's had near misses, Paul, to be totally honest with you. Away at Marine in the FA Cup, we were rescued by a 90th minute, 91st minute free kick from Jordan Davis, a player of the season candidate for us. If that doesn't go in, would he have gone? I don't know. The owners are not reactionary, but the knives were out. The knives were sharp. I was at Wealdstone the other day where we broke the barrier with a 95th minute winner. I mean, people
we
next
don't
to me
score
there.
last minute winners. We don't get any.
well,
it's not in our armory. It's not in our armory. We've got one at Grimsby.
We did get one. We did get one. And again, so we were 1-0 down at 86 minutes. And people next to me were really, it was volatile. I'll say that. We were packed in and people were saying he's got to go. I've had it with this manager. I've had it with this setup. And look, we're fickle. I know that, but it's been a tough relationship. But at the end of the day, all people care about, you could have Barney the Purple Dinosaur guiding us to the Football League. It wouldn't really matter. We don't need to love him. If he does his job, then he'll go down in Wrexham history if he does his job. And if he doesn't, I think he'll be gone in the summer. It's that simple. I think the objective for him is get us up. And if you don't, thank you very much and on your way.
Yeah, it's interesting managers' dynamics, delivery of results, isn't it? You have some managers that don't seem to get results but are very popular. And then you have other managers that do get results and never really warm to. I remember in my time at Leicester, 1995, you probably weren't even born, being a young sports journalist of the year candidate. Martin O'Neill took over from Mark McGee. Mark McGee was very popular. Didn't win a lot, but he was very popular. And Martin didn't get a result for about 6 games. Fans rioted. There were demonstrations and all the rest of it. I was very close to Martin and always believed in him. And basically, the only other time they said O'Neill was accompanied by out or off. And they won Leicester won the last 4 games of the season to creep into the last playoff spot, won the playoff semi-final, and then beat Crystal Palace in the 119th minute of the game. And Martin tells the story that at the final whistle, for the very, very, very first time, he'd been there for 5 months, the fans chanted his name. And Martin says, with great self-deprecation, he said, I was so tempted to turn round and give them the V sign, all 40,000 of them at Wembley, Yeah. He said, I was really tempted, but I didn't. And then the fans became hugely, and Martin hugely tight. And he says, one of the best decisions I ever made was not sticking the V sign up, because if I had, that would have irreparably damaged his reputation.
That'd have been it.
And the club then went on to have 5 years of unbelievable success. So the point I'm making here, there are massively marginal dividing lines. And I can't help but think, if Parkinson gets you up, and I still think you will go up, if I'm honest, somehow or other, because I think the guy's a winner, then I think he'll be fated, won't he? As you've just said, he will be fated, and you will all forget everything, And if you look where we are at the minute, clearly, as you know, I've got a cob on, as we say in Nottingham tonight. There's no reason why we can't go up. Okay. We should still make the playoffs in answer to some of the points on the message boards at the minute. But if we're, and that's fine, but quite with our budget and what we've got at our disposal, we shouldn't be, jumping through hoops because we can finish 7th. Yeah, we clearly, because we're pretty ropey away from home, we need to finish at least 5th to get one home playoff game. Yeah, and really, we need to be in 2nd or 3rd if we can, to miss a game and then have a home playoff, because our away form isn't good. So I'm not counting it out, but if we don't go up, to echo your point, then I think there needs to be a massive inquest at the club this summer, because we've spent a lot of money, we've got a good squad of players, we've invested heavily in the manager. Anything but going up this season, like yourselves, for me, and make no bones about it, is failure. And you can say, oh, that's rough and all the rest of it. You know, Nathan, you work in the industry as I do. It's a rough, brutal world. If you accept second best, that is what you will get. If you accept, you've got to challenge, you've got to aspire, you've got to be hungry, you've got to be passionate, you've got to be aggressive. And I think that what Phil Parkinson does bring to you, he's got the T-shirt.
Yeah.
He's got the T-shirt. He knows what it's needed when the pressure is on. And that's what I remain to be seen about our current group of players and our current head coach.
What I would say is, people say, well, when we had Gary Mills and we thought that was our golden ticket, he'd done it with York and it wasn't. So there's no guarantee that he will. And I remember I was in Phil Parkinson's first press conference and I said, did he think it was in any way a gamble to drop to the National League? And he sort of, well, he's quite disrespectful actually. He kind of scoffed at my question and laughed it off really, as if it was a ridiculous question. And I think he found out pretty quickly it wasn't a ridiculous question. The National League is hard. It is hard to get out the National League, and it only we can say to you, you should be looking at Wrexham, and other teams should. We're what you don't want to be, in the sense that we get every year gets harder because the scars and cuts get deeper. Okay, so you don't get up this year. Next year you then maybe move on from Ian. You get a new manager. You lose a few players. You then build in again, and who knows? I don't know. If Lake Orient come down, they may get it together and go back up. And Chesterfield, if they don't go up, may get it together. Shamanga back. It never gets any easier. There's never a time when it's just an absolute cakewalk. And you look at Boreham Wood last night. With all due respect to Notts and ourselves and Chesterfield, I mean, Boreham Wood put 27 fans to the racecourse last night. Now, credit to the 27. I'm not knocking any of those. But what I'm saying is it's a gut wrencher. I can say it on here because I'm talking to another big club, but it's a gut wrencher when you see teams like Braintree and Boreham Wood and to a lesser extent Bromley, to a lesser extent Bromley and Halifax are a big team, but there's Bromley, Braintree, Boreham Wood, these kind of teams getting further than you in the playoffs. Eastleigh, when we lost to Eastleigh, it hurts because you ask anyone, friends of mine in the Championship League One, they'll say, yeah, we love Notts, Wrexham, Halifax, Chesterfield, Stockport. We'd love all those back in the Football League, and we'll trade out, Scunthorpe or Oldham or some of these other teams. It's not that simple. It isn't. It's win the league or bust, because somebody in that playoffs. Look at Bromley, Boreham Wood. Still, even though we beat them last night, they're going to be really tough outs. So if you have to go on the road to Hayes Lane or you have to go on the road to the Shea, I think we're going to have a few of these big hitters. I think we'll Stockport win the league, but I think if it's ourselves, if it's you, if it's Chesterfield, all in those playoffs, there's going to be two very, very disappointed fan bases with two managers that I'd expect Paul Cook to get moved on if Chesterfield don't go up, and that may seem harsh. Don't you just come in? But these are the stakes we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have the utmost respect, and I am a massive advocate of what Luke Garrard has done at Boreham Wood, what Andy Woodman has done at Bromley, what Pete Wild has done at Halifax. The reality is they are achieving these things on fractions of what yourselves and ourselves are paying in infrastructure, playing squads, medical staff, support staffs, overnight hotel stays, all of that. And many years ago, the boot was very much on the foot when I was fortunate as a teenager to be a supporter of this club when we were going to Manchester United. Manchester United are taking the mick out of us, right? Because we've only got 250 fans in the away end at Old Trafford, and they try and bring down 15,000 fans to our poky little shack of a ground, and we've got 6,000 home fans, and they got 15,000 away fans. So we as Notts County don't turn around and say, oh, you know, yeah. That's the beauty of the game and the sport. And the reality is, you've been, you know, without being disrespectful, you've been in the National League for however many years because you've not been good enough, right?
14 years, yeah. Here we are.
And we are in this division. We're in this division because we weren't good enough. And you will not find a single Notts County fan in the season that we were relegated that will say we were unlucky. Every single Notts County fan, to a man, will tell you we were rank and we deserved to be relegated. I think there is a bit of a cultural clash among our supporter base at the minute, where some give it that, oh, we're happy we've still got a club, we didn't go bust. You know, I'm happy to stay in this division for the next 10 years. You know, I'm not sure about it, because I think they're probably Russian spam bots. But anyway, and there are others who are very impatient, me included, that with the infrastructure that you've got, with the funding, you know, we've got a good setup here. Our owners are very good. You know, we've not got property developers looking to fleece the ground and everything's, you know, there is a good setup. There is good stability. And you know how it works. A manager and players will always find excuses. Yeah. There'll always be an excuse, right? So what you kind of do when you're running a football club is you kind of take as many of those excuses away as possible. Yeah, and you say, right, you can have that, you can have that. You want 22 players, you've got 22 players. Yeah, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to stop overnight for 20 away games. That's fine, we'll write the check out. So all that is done, and I'm sure it's done clearly at Wrexham. I'm sure it's done at Stockport as well. And this season, I'm sure it's done at Chesterfield. But if that's done, then battle on. You know, then the battle is on. And I don't subscribe to the view, you know, some of our fans are saying we're actually doing okay this season because the league's better this year than last. It's irrelevant. Boreham Wood are doing better. What's the excuse for Boreham Wood? Halifax are doing better. What's the excuse for Halifax? There are excuses. And this is kind of my bugbear for the past 2 or 3 weeks, which is why I'm ranting. You know, we drew 3-3 with Solihull last night. We had a few players out. Yeah, Chesterfield had twice as many players out when they played us 2 weeks ago, and we were rammel, you know, and got beat 3-1. So you can't have it both ways. Anyway, FA Trophy quarter-final. Are your boys taking it seriously?
Yeah, I think he will. I think the team he's played all along. Will he play our strongest 11? No, I don't think he will. But I think we will have a lot of big hitters in there. I think he'll play the big defenders. I think he'll play Ben Tozer. I think he'll play Aaron Hayden. Thankfully for us, Harry Lennon, who turned into a goalkeeper on the goal line at your place, he is injured, so we will not get a repeat. He is very much, unfortunately for us, he's injured. And we're just a different team to then. You know, when we lost, am I still there? I'm still there. When we lost to you, we could have done a similar chat, and I would have been ranting. I said, "This isn't it. You know, this is same old rubbish, basically." I know we went down to 10, and you could say that's harsh, but same old rubbish. And yet, you know, we've the midfield's clicking for us now. We've got a new striker in Ollie Palmer. We just look a lot better. We just look a lot more balanced. And I'm sorry to kind of bring so much positivity to a live stream that's maybe a day of mourning or whatever this is for Notts County's season. But you know, we look a lot better, and you know, when I look back at the game we had at your place, we should score that penalty. Paul Mullin should score that penalty, and actually, I think you played well. I think they were good performances. I didn't think you battered us into submission at 10 men. You know, so that I was emotional at the time when I was there in the away end. But I think retrospectively, I thought we played okay. And I think that gives me optimism, just because I feel like we owe you one a bit. We just feel like we owe you one. I think what I would say for your striker, if Kyle Wotton plays, I don't know if he's injured or he should play, I think, but he bullied our young centre half in the home game, guy called Max Cloworth, and he will play on Friday night. So it'll be fascinating to see how Max has changed since then. That was obviously our first home game, and I felt like Kyle kind of bullied him around, sort of, just had the beating of him, as a young player often does at the back. But he's improved massively over the season. So I'd be fascinated to see that battle tomorrow, because no doubt Kyle will cling to him as the weak link.
I'm guessing 5 on the spin, 6 if you count the previous trophy win, will be your best run of the season. What?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that first win of that 5 or that 6, what was it? What? Has there been a change, or is it kind of the manager just drilling in the system, the protocols, and all the rest of it? What's changed for you to start to churn these results out?
Well, we lost to Torquay 1-0, and really, really poor. It was one of our poorest displays of the season at Plainmoor, and that brought a little bit of an inquest between kind of the players and the manager, from what I gather. And it was a kind of, we have to. To Leigh's earlier point, we have to get more streetwise. We have to.
Streetwise is a word we use a lot here. Yeah.
But fair point. I mean, we were just too honest in terms of, like, we just weren't playing the game at 5th division level. We were trying to play League One football in a league that doesn't allow for that. So we played Boreham Wood in the trophy, puts out a really strong team, and we go and beat them 3-0. And then since then, look, we've had some gritty wins. What I would say is Chesterfield away was the turning point of our season. We got absolutely battered in the first half. We should have been about 3 or 4 down. And that's no exaggeration. We're not. We go in at 0-0, come out second half, a much better display, and we win 2-0. And ever since then, we've looked like world beaters. I mean, put 4 past Aldershot. We comfortably dispatched King's Lynn. Could have been more. We've put 4 past Boreham Wood. We go to your place and we've got I'll run a games now if you include the trophy. We've got Notts County, Bromley, Halifax. Well, that's a real examination of your credentials. 2 of those league games, Bromley away, Halifax at home. I mean, we'll see very quickly if we're pretenders or contenders, I think. But yeah, I just think the midfield now looks like it's got a lot more balance, and that's massive for us.
So you would not be of an opinion then that a run in the trophy all the way to potentially the final, because it's quite interesting if you've looked at the fixtures, the way the playoffs kind of come literally just after the trophy final.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be worried about that. You'd rather have the Wembley and the extra games and the extra midweeks that come with getting through this.
I believe in winning football matches. I don't think it can be a bad thing, and I don't believe if we get hammered. It doesn't sound like we will by the sound of this chat, but I mean, if we get hammered say we put out a kids team or a team of players, and we got beat 4 or 5-0, just say for argument's sake, by Notts County. How is that a good thing? I don't understand. Like, yes, we'd be out of the trophy, but you've just got hammered by a potential team you're going to meet in the playoff. That cannot be a good thing. I'm in and around football clubs, and players, they would share my argument. It's better just to win matches. Winning matches, you feel invincible. So, I'm of the argument that at this stage, your 2 games from Wembley, just give us a nice day out and just keep winning matches. It's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, and when Ian arrived, wasn't the greatest of starts. His first game was Hornchurch, who had already packed in COVID. We were at home and we lost. That was his first game, and that was a trophy semi-final. So I think he considers that he has some unfinished business with the competition, and I would be expecting a kind of 70-80% full strength team. I think there'll be one or 2 players in certain positions where he will rest or thinks don't really want him to be injured, because we've got Stockport on the Tuesday, away, and then Dagenham away the following Saturday. So there's a fair bit of travelling we're doing at the minute. But from what you're saying and what I would believe, you will be having a game that is to pretty much full strength teams. What I certainly don't think you're going to be having is 2 reserve squads out there, on a Friday night in front of 1,027. And the reason for the game being Friday night is clearly with Forest. We've got a game on the Tuesday, so we couldn't do the Sunday. And I believe for fans, because clearly it's not an easy journey from North Wales, is it, on a Friday night via Stoke or South Manchester. There is a stream that you can watch for those of you who can't get along as well. So there is an option to see it, bit of the pub or however you want to do it,
Yeah, no, I mean, that's massive. And it's massive for the international fan base as well, because, they don't get to watch many games. They're sort of following various Twitter accounts and trying to live through fan clips of goals. So I think, I think there'll be a decent number tuned into the stream. I'm going to guess we'll have about 500 fans there, I think, because it's a Friday night. It's being streamed.
That's good turnout.
Yeah, but I think for us now, we're getting a little bit greedy of, taking 700, 800, 900, 1,000. What did we bring? The game we came in January, it was over 1,000, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
1,100 or something like that. So people think, well, God, is that it? You're only going to take 500. I think on a Friday night that'd be superb, given it's I think that'd be brilliant. So that's what I'm expecting. I'm still working out whether I can make it up from the big smoke. I don't know if I can, but I really want to win. I really do want to win, mainly because I could tune in next week and listen to you kind of unpack another horror show, which is is light entertainment for me now. Now we're winning, and I've got this Hollywood cash, and it's
I don't want your copybook, Nathan.
No, and look, when it blows up in our face
tomorrow night, after Friday night, have you? Yeah, we've made a special request after I passed the information on that you gave us last time for that the refers again, the one that always sends one of your
Paul Marsden. Paul Marsden. Yeah, I hope it's not him again. No doubt, if we get to the playoff final, the Vanarama gods will conspire against us and put Paul Marsden at Wembley, and we'll get turned over by Bromley or someone. So I mean, I'm sure we'll see you next year, no doubt, because as much as I'm enjoying this great run we're on, this is Wrexham in the conference. We're just totally cursed, and it's 10 years since our 98-point season. So I'm hoping that maybe with time served, we've kind of paid our sentence, and that will be that. But look, joking aside, I think Friday night will be a big game. It's a big game. I know people. A friend of mine was saying, just get out the trophy at all costs. When the whistle goes, you and I will both want to win. I think it can only do good if for those group of players to go beat Notts County after we've beaten Chesterfield and Boreham Wood would be massive. I know you've had a little bit of a stutter, but if you can go and beat Wrexham in the form we're in and end this 6-game winning run, I mean, that is which you've seen Boreham Wood ship 4, and I think that would be massive. I think psychologically that could be big for you. Going into that game against Stockport, and Stockport are getting a little bit edgy now. They're getting a little bit not that
28
comfortable.
out of 30 points in the last 10 games. Is that edgy?
Yeah, no. But if you speak to their fans now, it's at that point now where yes, but they're looking ahead. I think now you've got to play Notts County, got to go to Wrexham, got to play Boreham Wood. I mean, they could go and win every game, and good luck to them, and big club, and I'd be happy for a lot of my friends who follow this county. But something about being the hunted, which at this level is daunting. If you know, it's just nerve wracking. It's hard to enjoy being top. I know that is a problem we'd all love to have, but there is an element of they won. Every draw for them feels like a defeat now. They keep saying, and they're worried about their running. So look, I think if you can beat us on Friday, which you've got every chance, you've performed against us, you've not lost to us this season. And I thought our fullbacks looked particularly exposed. And when I came on here last time, I thought you did a good job of punishing what are two very weak defensive fullbacks. And they're great going forward, as we saw with a wonder goal from Reece or Johnson, but defensively they look a worrying. Rodriguez getting 2 in the Solihull game, I think is a worry for us, because we haven't got the potential to stop him really in wide areas. So look, it could happen. It could happen. We could win, we could lose, but I am excited. I know that comes to winning, but I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are certainly a different proposition at Meadow Lane compared to on our travels. You know, we played 15 away games in the National League this season and won 5, drawn 5 and lost 5. I think we've got the second worst away record of the promotion chasing playoff pack. So for us to be successful, you know, and to finish better than 7th, which is kind of, I think, the absolute lowest you would be expecting for us this year. It's our away form that we've got to pick up on. You know, our home form is decent. We had a blip against Halifax. Grimsby came here and played very well against us in the second half. But our home form is decent. I mean, if I'm being really brutally honest, you know, I would rather we lost Friday.
Right.
I'm not sure we are equipped to be able to wage a battle in a cup competition and the league. You know, I don't know if you caught the stat at the start of the season, start of the show. You're second in the last 10 games points return. Stockport's got 28 out of 30, which is phenomenal. You're second with 22 alongside Southend. We are somewhere in the bottom half with 13 points from the last 10 games. We've got to address that and address that pretty quickly. And there's no reason we can't. But I think I'd rather us focus on that without displacing any more games and those sorts of things. But I'm 58. I look a lot older. You speak to our younger fan base, then clearly they want a day out at Wembley, you know, and that's a big deal to them. That's a big deal to them. And I will be there Friday. I'll be there at the away game if we get through. For me, I'm underwhelmed, if I'm honest with you. I'm underwhelmed.
I can understand it. I can understand it. Look, for me, Johnny Hunt slotting the penalty away against Grimsby is... I've had some great memories, you know, following Wrexham in 20... I turned 26 on Tuesday, so 26 years. You know, but it is that just seeing Wrexham win a piece of silverware at Wembley, it was great, and no one can take that away from me. And I get that we've had... Would I trade that into be, say, maybe where Salford are now toiling in League Two? Probably not. In all honesty, I probably wouldn't. I'd love to get into the Football League and get back there, but that day at Wembley is special to a lot of people. You know, we dug ourselves out of a snowstorm. We went down there in massive numbers. We win a penalty shootout at our end, and it was emotional. And you know, that will stand the test of time. We go in the club shop. It's a massive mural in the club shop still. The picture of the players running down towards the fans. So I can totally understand it and appreciate it. And you'd be surprised. A lot of Wrexham fans are just like you, want to get out the trophy. And I don't begrudge anyone that. Just for me personally, that's one of my favourite memories. And for me, I've always been a big defender of the trophy since then. So yeah, I mean, if you're happy to concede it now, Paul, if you just tell Ian, and we'll be on our way. We'll be on our way, and we can be on one step close to Wembley. You're happy. You haven't got more games, and the players can just sort of do without any injuries on Friday night. And everyone's a winner.
Okay. We'll see. I'm already getting abused from one or two people, as you might imagine. Admitting you want us to lose. I want us to exit the competition. I don't want us to lose. I want us to go out on a penalty shootout. We've not lost then, have we? We've drawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Nathan, thank you ever so much indeed for your time as always.
Thanks
hope you
so
are
much.
able to make it from out of the smoke or whatever schedules. If you can't get there, you can at least get a stream, can't you, and watch it.
I can. I will be watching at least if I can't make it. So let's see.
Will be able to see it. And I guess really, I hope neither of us have these podcasts when we play each other next season, because I'd like us to go up. But if we don't go up, then I would like Wrexham to go up, because clearly if you didn't go up this season, you will be a powerhouse next season. You know, so from a purely mercenary basis, I want one of us to go up. You know. And your point about Stockport, I think it is a valid one. As much because there is only one automatic. Normally, if you're chasing the title down, you can still fail, can't you? Finish second and still go up. You know, whereas there is no second chance, is there? In this league, in the sense of There's only one automatic. When you are hunted, you're quite right. I think it can play tricks on your mind. You know what? Clearly, Stockport are the team to beat. I still wouldn't be surprised if Phil Parkinson manages to chase them down. It wouldn't surprise me. You know, it sounds like you've given him dog's abuse for 4 or 5 months. Certainly here at Notts, you know, you've wasted your money. Parkinson's useless. And I'm sure exactly the same as all the other big clubs said, you've wasted your money. But looking at the situation at the minute, you are in a substantially better position than we are. It's not to say it won't change between now and the end of the season. Potentially, you're hitting form at the right time, because for Stockport to go up, they've kind of got to keep on this kind of run, which, you know, if you think the run that they're on is phenomenal since Christmas. It's a long time to keep it going to May. It's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Challoner, I think is a brilliant manager, and it was the manager I wanted after he took Hartlepool up. Obviously, that wasn't possible. I think, he's a brilliant manager, and look, they've got good players. Ollie Crankshaw's, there's no business him being in the National League. Paddy Madden's on huge money, as many of our players are. I can't think of it. I mean, Southam Hales, fullback, I think is brilliant. One of the best in the league. So there are loads of great players in there. The lad from Bolton, Seferovic, I don't know who it is, Sarcevic or whatever his name is. They just got to keep winning, and if they don't, it'll become a little bit tense. Because if Wrexham, it can all unravel massively for us in the blink of an eye. You've got Bromley and Halifax in the space of 2 games. You get less than 4 points on those, I think the title talk will cease very quickly. So let's see. But you know, Friday night is a big one. If we get beat comfortably, which, you know, you might not say it, but it could happen. I think that will be like pulling the rug from under us. I think we'll lose all of our momentum, no matter what team we put out. I think if we get turned over in disappointing fashion or fairly comprehensively, then I think all momentum will be lost, and I'll be really gutted to go into that Bromley game the week later. So we'll see.
Finally, what do you reckon to this England C Wales C game? That's it's up in North Wales. Have you got many players? Are all the clubs going to be pulling all their players out of this fixture?
I was going to say, I think we're going to have quite a few hip flexors and bad backs, to be honest. I mean, it depends. From what I gather, Challen has pulled rank on his players. Will Collar and I can't think of the other Stockport player they've already pulled out.
Have they? I didn't see that. Right?
Yeah, they have. So Stockport's pair have pulled out already, so they're out.
Are they allowed to do that then?
It's a tricky one, because you could say, can we have some proof of, injury maybe if they wanted to. This is England. See if they're just going to take word for it. They're just going to say, all right, they've got a groin strain, or I mean, it's quite early to be pulling out now, I suppose.
That's what I mean. It's so early.
But I think you can also, I think you can also decline a call up. I don't think you're obliged to do so. I don't think you have to take it.
Yes, of course.
I think you could just. I think you could just say, I don't want to take it. And that may hurt you down the line. I don't think you have to take it. They don't even need to be injury related. It could just be, right now, I want to play for Stockport, and I don't want to play in what for some will be a meaningless game. Others, it's a chance to put on the England shirt. The big one for us is Will Paul Mullin, who has been talking up potentially getting in the Wales squad if Wrexham can climb the ladder. And he had a mug in the club shop, and he had the Welsh flag put on it because his grandma or someone is Welsh. So, will he play for England C? I would be stunned, to be totally honest with you. And I think the fan base would be absolutely gutted if he played for England C. So, well, to rhyme it, let's wait and see. I would expect a raft of pullouts, withdrawals, and we're going to end up with sort of a mid-table National League team. I think the likes of your Woking, Eastleigh, I think they're going to get a few call-ups when. I don't know if Ian will make your players in there pull out. Don't know if they will, and it's up to the player. If our lads say they really want to play for England, great. I don't want to take that away from them, really. And we shouldn't. And again, you're talking about excuses. Shouldn't really be making an excuse that if they're playing, they're not missing any games, are they? They're just playing in between in the midweek.
Yeah.
And I said to somebody the other day about, well, what if they all get injured? in England C game. They could get injured going to training. They could get injured in training. You can't be worried about. It's no different to, it's no different playing for England than it would be training and that sort of thing. So I think that's a moot point, to be honest.
Yeah, I understand that they're trying to get it in because it was postponed pre-COVID. I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the whole concept of England C, because if you roll back the clock, this was before players were professional in the conference, National League, Vanarama, call it whatever you will. This was actually for when players were part-time. England C, that was what England C was. It was non-league players. The reality is now 80 to 90% of the National League are full-time professional players, and there isn't really a line of differentiation to be drawn in approach of the top 15 clubs in the National League compared to those in League Two. So I'm not sure about it, to be honest. I'm not sure. I mean, I wonder whether it really just needs to be quietly kicked into the grass, or if it's an age group thing, or if it's if it is clubs that aren't full time. So you go down to National League North, you go down to National League South. I don't know. I can't see there being too many of these fixtures going on in the future somehow. I mean, is it at Carnarvon? I mean, what sort of crowd are we expecting for this?
I mean, apparently Wembley was busy, so they had to just with that. I mean, you might get 1,200 maybe. I have no idea. 1,500 maybe, something like that max. I would have thought. It would mainly be a symbolic thing, just for. I mean, is it an official cap? I mean, what do these players?
Used to be. Good friend of mine, Steve Guppy, Leicester. So I think he's either the only one, or there might be a couple of others now, that was capped at England C,
right,
and England Senior. Good quiz question, that.
That is a good quiz question. Yeah, fair play.
There might be one other. He certainly for a while was the only one. Played for the England non-league team when he was at Wycombe, when they were in non-league, and eventually then capped once by the England senior men's team. I forget who was in charge. Might have been Hoddle. So, good quiz question, that one.
That is a good one. Yeah, it's one of them. A lot of the fan base are really disappointed that it's come out, and I was trying to find out from the FA in terms of the selection process. In terms of, were players consulted before? Is it a random list? Did they find out on social media? I'm not really sure. I mean, the reaction in your fan base similar. A lot of people just want to do without it, I would assume.
I think it's pretty underwhelming. I think, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to get excited. When you've got your own problems about trying to get back to the Football League, it is hard to sort of rally yourself to get in the mood for an England C against Wales C team. It's just very difficult to get your head around at this stage of the season. And I think if whoever gets through, which one of us, the semi-final is a one-legged tie on April the 2nd, which is...
we lose Southend. One or two have been asking about this on our message boards. We would lose the Southend away game, so that would have to
we would lose Weymouth away. So, but what my point being that semi-final would be sort of like 3 days after the England C game. So again, it's not really ideal preparation. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be ideal for us to lose, say, Paul Mullin or that point of the season. You want to prepare for a semi-final, whether you like the trophy or not, and to have. And also, I'm not fully sure it's great for these players to be mixing and sort of getting to know each other's game. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I'm not fully sure I want Paul Mullin sort of hanging around with other National League defenders going into a. I get that they can study him, but it's different when you're with players close up day to day. You see habits a lot easier, and I think for every manager, they're probably not in the mood for that sort of friendliness to be going on. I think
we'll see. Nathan, thank you very much.
Thanks so much. I'll let you go, Paul. Thanks so much.
We'll get back to the mundane matters of was it Champions League we can watch now?
Yeah.
Get up to Nottingham, enjoy. If not, watch it on the stream. And let's see whether our paths will cross later in the season in the playoffs. You never know, do you? You never know.
We'll see, Paul. Well, thanks for having me on, and hopefully I will speak to you soon in the playoff final, maybe. Let's see.
Very good indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Nathan. Thank you, everyone, for tonight. Apologies for the rant earlier, but always does it best to get it off your chest, doesn't it? So, Wrexham, let's see how many we can get there on Friday night, and then off to Stockport and Dagenham we will go. Thank you very much. Lots of messages from you all this evening. We're all still friends. And let's hope we can start to put a serious winning run together between now and the end of the season. Take care for now. Bye-bye.